bouncing with her if you.
So, okay.
It adds realism.
Christina and Jason Harris and little baby Ava, right?
Eva.
Ava, sorry. And so
a little upset.
Yeah. We want to thank you guys for speaking with us this afternoon and sharing your story with us. First and foremost, how are you all doing? How are you adjusting? 2 little ones. How's that going?
Well, other than adjusting to life with a newborn and getting less sleep and not being able to control our schedules, we're doing really well. We are happy to have these problems. These are good problems to have. I'm here, so that's great. Yeah, we're doing well. Healing's going well.
Great. Good. We love to hear that. Talk a little bit about that day back in December, and take me through what happened.
Sure. So I'll start. I was out for a lot of the day, so Jason can fill in the gaps. The facts, just before we get into the experience of it, I went in to be induced for my second child. We have a 3-year-old who's just really terrific. She's bright and joyful and precocious, really loving. So we love being parents. We're really excited to add to our family. Our 3-year-old was thrilled to have her wish of a little sister come true. She came up with the name Eva when we first told her that she was going to have a sister. And so we went in to be induced, and things were going fine. Jason was sleeping. Around 4 o'clock in the morning, I sat up and I felt really big pain. I felt like 3 big kicks to my left side, and then like blinding pain across my ribs and a lot of difficulty breathing. And I assume that's when the placental abruption happened, which means that the placenta detaches completely. In my case, it was completely from my uterus, which is really dangerous for me and for the baby because the baby can't get the oxygen and other things that it needs. But I didn't know that. I just felt the pain, and I thought, this is really bad. My mom had 13 years before my parents had me. They lost a full-term baby because of a cord accident. She wanted to be induced. Cord came out. The doctor pushed it back in. She felt a big kick, and then that was it. So when I felt 3 big kicks in pain, I didn't necessarily think that was a problem, but I thought reminded me of my mom's situation, and I thought this is really scary and bad. My memories after that point are few and far between. I remember when I was being prepped for the C-section, the emergency C-section, I asked the doctor if my daughter and I were going to be okay, and he said he would do his best. And I thought, this is it for me. And that was before the real trouble began. So that's when I went out, and Jason can pick up the story from there because unfortunately it was a very long and vivid day for him.
Yeah. So they took Christina back for the emergency C-section pretty quickly, and I sat with the nurses in the nursing station, and everything was going pretty routinely. And I had gotten word that that Eva had been born, and that they were sewing Christina back up. So I thought that we were in the clear at that point, but a few minutes later, the doctor came out to talk to me and informed me about the DIC. Christina's body had used up all of its coagulation factors, and basically there was nothing stopping the blood from just pouring out of Christina. They tried a couple of different procedures to control the bleeding. None of that was that successful. So they basically packed her up as best as they could and stabilized her, and by all indications did a fantastic job, the surgical team at the Corning Guthrie Hospital, and transported her to the Robert Packard Hospital in Sayre. They were going to transport her by helicopter, but it was too foggy, so they had to do it by ground. So she arrived in Sayre. I went back home and talked to the doctor in Sayre, and thought that it was best to go to Sayre to to be with Christina. I got to see her before she left. Morning, her dad came and we both saw her before she left, and then we saw her again at Sayre before the procedure. So that was about noon time, so about 8 hours had passed since the abruption. And we got word around 1 or so that they had almost fully completed the surgery. Christina had done a great job responding. The surgical team was fantastic, and that they were closing her up. So we got to see her maybe 1:30, 1:45 or so. Christina had kind of come out of the anesthesia and was alert enough to know that we were there. And the progress after that was phenomenal. She did a really great job recovering and was out of the hospital pretty quickly. Do you want to pick it up if there's anything you want to add, Christina?
Yeah,
in terms
well,
of like Eva?
Well, maybe a couple of things you could fill in. So there, you might want to talk about seeing the blood go in and out, and what you were thinking during that time, and what happened, what you were met with when you got to Sayre.
Yeah, in the Guthrie OB wing, the birthing wing, our room was kind of situated at the end of the wing, and across the hallway I could see the hallway that went into the emergency room. So I was kind of just nervously watching it as things had gotten worse and worse. And the first thing I saw was the cart. I knew that was the cart that had a lot of blood products. I think it might have been red and white. And then, I knew it was serious. I knew that there was a lot of bleeding, and I saw a lot of other people coming through with different sizes of coolers. And, I knew that she was bleeding a lot, and I knew that, there's a finite supply of blood, even in the best of circumstances. And just thinking that I hope that they had enough for her. And what we heard later was that they actually had to bring in some blood products from the hospital in Elmira. And then when we got to Sayre, it was it was a little tough to see Christina in that kind of a situation. With all the doctors that I talked with, they were very professional, very considerate, but very honest, and they were very clear that Christina's condition was extremely critical, and that basically, if she didn't start clotting, that she probably wouldn't make it. So something changed, and it started to work, and they did a great job in both surgical teams, and we're happy to have her here today.
Absolutely. What was going through your head when you kind of woke up and realized the gravity of the situation?
Is that one for me or Christina?
Christina, I'm
I
sorry.
mean, for when I woke up, yeah. Sorry, I'm gonna have to stand and bounce a little
You're
bit.
okay.
You can see her little ruffle bump. So when I don't remember too much. I wasn't really surprised that when I found out that it was not good. And when he told me that they wanted to helicopter me, yes, it's a very upsetting story. It was terrible. Yeah. So when I heard that they wanted to transfer me by helicopter to a hospital that was only a half an hour away, I thought that was, pretty serious. It was very strange to wake up knowing that I had had a baby and not have her there, not be able to see her. That was upsetting. I didn't know Jason was trying to sort of shield me from any negative information about the baby. He just sort of said that she was doing okay. We found out later she might have some problems. So she was in a NICU in the Arnott Hospital, and then she was transferred to Rochester to another NICU. So while I was in Pennsylvania, my baby was 2 hours north in a different hospital. So I was in a lot of pain. I couldn't really embrace the emotions. I'm like an emotional person, but I kind of had to shut that down. Anytime I would start to cry, it was just the pain was unbearable. So I was very relieved to have my husband there. I was relieved to have my dad there. And I was so grateful. I didn't really learn until later the magnitude of the blood transfusion, and that it took 33 people to donate for me to live. So it felt, and it still feels relatively surreal. I know that happened, but I was out for a lot of it. I remember a couple times just, being scared for my life and for my babies. And, now I just feel when I'm holding my baby and feeding her and doing all the things and dancing with my 3-year-old and playing with her, I just feel overwhelming gratitude that I'm here and that my daughters have a mother. And I'm so grateful that my husband has his wife, and we have hopefully a long future in front of us. And maybe that's why you were upset. So yeah, and I feel I feel really bad for my husband and for our families that they went through most of that day thinking that they were going to lose me. For my husband to sign the birth certificate, not knowing what was going to happen to either one of us. He had to do that alone. And my dad, having lost a baby himself, he almost lost my mother after that same pregnancy loss. For him to see me that way, I know he told my mother that when he saw me before my 3rd surgery, he thought that was going to be the last time he would see me alive. So, I think one thing that really strikes me about blood donation is that you think about saving one person or helping one person to be healthier. But really, I would have been gone. I'm very glad that I'm here. I would have been gone, and everybody else would have been left with, a hole and grief. And, I don't know what life would have been like for my husband and my daughters. If anybody could raise 2 daughters, well, it would be my husband. But I'm glad he didn't have to figure that out and go through all the difficulties that would come with that. So those are my feelings about it. Oh man.
Well, she seems like she's doing well. He was healthy.
She's doing great. She grew 2 inches in the first month. I was also, as I'm going to nurse her again, I was very concerned. I nursed my first daughter for two years, and I was really worried being separated from my daughter that I might not be able to do that for her. And I thought if any baby really needs it, it's one that might have difficulties. They told me because my body was so depleted, there wouldn't be any way that I could make milk for several days. The surgeries all happened on a Wednesday. Friday, I tried to pump and I made milk. And then 1 week of having my daughter home, and she was full-time nursing.
And she's amazing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, again, probably largely due to the blood, right? I mean, I was empty of everything, and somehow I still had my body was able to make milk to help my daughter thrive. And it's another miracle. I feel like my life's a miracle, hers is too, and then just being able to feed her myself is remarkable.
Absolutely. You talk about blood donation. Have either of you donated blood before? Had you been blood donors prior to this, or?
I never have. I know that when my mom was very ill after losing my sister, 2 of her best friends donated blood to her. And another one of my friends had a different, very traumatic birth in Michigan, and she had to have a very extensive transfusion. And she learned later that she was in one of 2 hospitals in the entire state that had enough blood for her. So, I know the value out of it. I've never done it. But I certainly intend to as soon as I'm past this far enough that I'm healthy enough that I can do it.
Absolutely. No, I mean, we say that the need for blood is constant, and that everyone you know, that every 2 seconds someone is in need of blood or blood products, and so it's I- I'm glad to hear that, and I think it helps to put a more personalized touch for people when they see someone who's been a recipient and has benefited from something like that. So, you know, I appreciate you sharing that with us.
And I didn't understand. I just thought a blood transfusion was a blood transfusion. I got 4 different types of blood products. I got 17 units of red blood cells, 10 units of frozen fresh plasma, 3 of platelets, and 3 of cryoprecipitate. And I just had no idea the range of blood products, and I didn't understand how they all work together to help the body do what it needs to do for clotting and bleeding. And it's really amazing.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you have plans to donate once you're in the routine?
I do. I'm also hoping that I'm trying to put out feelers in my organization to see if there are any blood drives planned, or if some of the sub-organizations I've been part of maybe could host one. I know Jason's already looked into it and found out that, you know, there's, with COVID's restrictions, you know, some organizations are canceling their blood drives. So I'm hoping that either soon or as soon as possible, not only could I donate, but that maybe we could organize something at our organizations and try to share our stories there too. I'm a professor, and you know, I'm hoping maybe we can get some students. From my understanding, the drop in college students' donations is even greater than the national average. So, you know, I'm hoping maybe letting some people, you know, spreading the word about what happened to us in a way where, you know, some people know us, and maybe we can drum up some donations that way.
Absolutely. And I can't tell you how much we appreciate that. You know, you talk about the younger generations, but first time donors too. Just last year alone, we saw a 34% decrease in first time donors, and just in our area. So every little bit helps, and we're glad that you're here and that you're all healthy and happy and enjoying this time with your family, and for sharing your story. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you for giving us an opportunity.
Absolutely. We're happy to. I'm going to stop recording.